we saw Joe Burrow. Now, we told you here on Sharp Money, watch out for Joe Burrow, and you may want to look to his underprops because he was getting off the plane heading into Charm City the night before on Wednesday, and he had a wrist brace on his throwing wrist. So that's not great. And now the Bengals are being looked into for some misreporting as far as the injury report. Why? Because as you join us here on a Friday, November 17th, we can report Joe Burrow is going to miss the rest of the regular season. The Bengals. Where's Taps when you need it? Where the Titanic is going down, boys. You got Shorty on the bow of the boat grabbing onto a piece of wood, and Leo can't get a piece. I mean, what is happening right now? The only thing that is less surprising than that disaster on Thursday night, Amal Shaw, was that my whole entire feed connected with the big guy going, I got to be honest with you. If I had $1,000, I'd do it all over again. I would like to say very clearly, if I had $1,000, I'd pick another team besides the Bengals. Hi, Amal.
How are you?
Look at him. He's so bitter. He is so sensitive. I love just absolutely poking the beast. He's so freaking sensitive. It's unbelievable. I'm talking to Amal right now. I'm sorry. I'm talking to Amal. Go ahead, Amal.
Don't worry, Dustin. He was talking about me. You're fine. I'll tell you what. Dustin and I talked about it this morning in terms of the Thursday night games. Forget the Bengals pick. We'll get into that in a minute. But, Patrick, you look at this matchup. This is probably coming into the regular season one of the top 5, top 7 games that we're going to potentially have. Bengals on the road against the Ravens should be a solid 3-point line. Saw a little bit of a fluctuation only because the way Joe Burrow looked in that game against the Houston Texans. And I'll tell you, Zach Taylor and company, you're going to see what feels like the season is over, but more importantly, you mentioned the fact that they didn't disclose it. This is a big deal, right? We're a betting network. This is what we talk about. Injuries are a crucial part of it. The NFL puts out the potential injury list every Tuesday. 2019, the Pittsburgh Steelers get fined $100,000, $75,000 to the team, $25,000 to Mike Tomlin because they didn't indicate that Ben Roethlisberger was injured. I think it's an important fact that has to be distinguished moving forward by these teams because they have so many partnership with betting angles and aspects. And let's be real here. After a while, once you kind of grow up and you realize, yeah, you can cheer for your team, but once you bet on games, you couldn't care less what the result of your team is. Your team is whoever you bet on that week.
You nailed it. The injury report is not just a dance between teams and gamesmanship anymore. Transparency has become paramount. Look, DraftKings is a partner with all these leagues. This is where we are right now, and we're moving into a new era, and it's a wonderful era. But the idea that the Bengals didn't report the injury and deleted the video shows you that there was something untoward going on behind the scenes. Like, they knew they had something there. Somebody in social media botched it, probably fired at this point. They ripped down the video with Joe Burrow with the hand brace on. That brings us to the big guy. And can I just a heads up, Al and Kirk are killing it on these Thursday night broadcasts. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. Look, we understand that Kirk Herbstreit has a dog. So do I. Anywho, somebody may want to let Al and Kirk know that Joe Burrow not playing in this game actively ended the Bengals season. And that is to say, even if Burrow was healthy moving forward, when they fell to 5-5 after that loss last night, they weren't making the postseason no matter what the big guy says. So the sharp money $40,000 windfall was not going to come through. And Al and Kirk just completely ignoring, like, Browning, the kid from Washington, the fact that he's playing quarterback. Why aren't they screaming at the top of their lungs? The big guy, he would have rolled it back. We say hi to Dustin Sweetelson. What's up, Half Zip?
I refuse to believe any of these reports until Carissa Thompson says whether or not Joe Burrow's out for the year. Shtick.
And don't ever send me a tweet with the quote, "This one did pretty good for me last night." Amal, he probably shared it with you as well. These words came out of a 38-year-old man's mouth today. I got to send you a tweet. It did pretty good on Twitter last night. First off, who cares? Secondly, do you know who you're talking to? And thirdly, it was shtick about a misreport done by Carissa Thompson. The whole entire planet was doing that shtick. Defend yourself.
Who cares? 98,000 people who viewed it cares. That's who cares.
Oh, wow. You're going to have a good weekend. Strangers looked at something you posted on Twitter. Now, back to you. The idea that we just lost $40,000.
Somebody just clapped for him, too.
Yeah, somebody in the background is excited. How does that feel, big guy? All kidding aside, we just lost $40,000.
I got to tell you, while I was watching that game, and the moment Joe Burrow went to throw that pass on the sidelines and he couldn't get his arm over.
Not great.
One, couldn't get into my sports book where all my money is right now because they decided that was the time where they needed to confirm my identity, and I couldn't use my face to log in. I had to type in all this stuff. By the time I got to it, the Ravens had scored again. But second, it was the saddest I've ever felt watching a sporting event, and probably the saddest I felt since G-Baby died in Hardball.
I don't even know. I genuinely don't know what you're talking about.
It's a movie with Keanu Reeves in 2001. He coaches an inner-city, underprivileged youth baseball team in the hood, and G-Baby was like their mascot, little tiny 6-year-old, got shot in some gunfighting.
Very, very good recent reference.
But
yeah, Mama, could you
that's the point. That's the last time I was this sad was 2001.
Gotcha. Thank you. Take a break.
Patrick, when you go back to Burrow, you saw it last Sunday in that game against the Texans. Some errant throws along the way, and it looked like the Cincinnati Bengals season could be in peril. I'll tell you, this morning I bet the Ravens at -$2 to win the division because you've got two teams sitting at 6-3 with the Browns, who are going to be with the backup quarterback the rest of the way. I don't care the signing of Joe Flacco. That guy's a human statue. And then you look at, obviously, DTR and Phillip Walker there, or excuse me, PJ Walker. I'm not excited by what the options are for the Browns. On the flip side, you got Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky. Give me Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, sitting at 8-3 -$2. I thought this price should have been about $4. Look, it's not the most ideal play for everybody because it's a long wait. You got to go into the middle of January. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Ravens have got to win 2 more games out of 6. This thing is over in the AFC North.
I said yesterday, Dustin, I said I was down on Lamar, and I've been a huge supporter. I don't even have the numbers. We don't even need to look at. Didn't you guys think he was awesome last night? Like, first off, I thought the injury was going to be legit because he's not theatrical, right? Like, no. When he's the type of person that almost wants to cover up because he is slight of frame, where when he's hurt, he pretends like he's not. When he stayed on the ground, I was like, damn. But it's just, even the plays that were just there, like I know a defensive back there for Cincinnati kind of knocked one down with his fingertips. There were plays that were just there. Lamar was tight last night.
He really was.
In a good way, I mean. Tight in a good way.
Absolutely, making the right reads, right throws. I mean, the play to Zay Flowers, they got called back. It was still the perfect play, well executed. I didn't agree with the holding call on that one, but I thought he was outstanding. The one even to Aguilar that got tipped and he ends up in the end zone. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. But the loss of Mark Andrews is big for this team. You could see right away, just based on the reaction from the players on the field and Lamar throwing the helmet right there, you could sense the frustration. But you got to give this Ravens team a ton of credit. I know you've been high on them from the beginning of the season, Patrick. And now, let's be real here for a second when you look big picture in the AFC. I thought coming into the season with the Browns situation, they could be one of the 6 challengers in the AFC. I didn't think Miami was going to be there. I thought it would be the Jets. But now you put the Dolphins in there. I take the Buffalo Bills out of that equation. I take Cleveland out of it. I think we're down to about 3 teams in the AFC right now. And I don't like Jacksonville. I know you guys are higher on the Jags than I am. Miami, Baltimore, and Kansas City. Those are it. Those are the 3 teams for me. One of those teams is going to be here in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. And I love the way the Ravens are playing right now. And to me, they get this Thursday night game at this time. It's a pretty good time. You're getting a few additional days rest. You've got a big game on Christmas against the 49ers, but the schedule's pretty decent. They can manage it. They're at the Chargers a week from Sunday. This team is in good shape to potentially wind up with the best record in the AFC.
Now, done clowning the big guy. I totally agree with you. Sports betting is about getting it in the best of it, and we got it in at that price at 40-1. That to me at that time was the best of it. So that we wouldn't have done anything differently. Them's the breaks, and that's the way it works.
And how about the way the rest of the division looks now, as Amal pointed out? Do you realize the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win 10 or 11 games now? They still have to face the Bengals twice. They have the Browns this week. They have Arizona, New England, Indianapolis, then close at Seattle and Baltimore. Even if they lose those last 2, they're winning 10 games. They're going to the postseason again.
Ugh.
It's a great first-round matchup if you're Miami or Jacksonville.
But, all right, but the point on last night, one big thing did happen when Andrews went down. and it's that a lot of receivers stepped up. Apparently, Odell Beckham still has a little bit left in that tank. It kind of shocked me. I thought he was toast. But a lot of receivers stepped up and made plays for them, and they've desperately needed that outside presence. They just need now Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar from Iowa State to do something in replacing Andrews, which, God, that's as big of a loss as we're going to see from a Super Bowl
And Andrews
contender.
was going to have how many, 10 doubles and receptions last night?
Dude,
right?
it was going to be a
cooking.
monster prop night. Lamar got there with his attempts and with his yards, and then Andrews, we had over receptions and yards, and he looked like he was going to go over it on the second drive. He just didn't make it to the second drive.
Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, boys. We had a good run with the Bengals. If you're just joining us, Joe Burrow done for the rest of the season, and so are the Bengals.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.